Hello everyone and welcome back to the Arceus Chronicle review that we have going on here on Sights on Sinnoh. My name is Will and once again I'm joined by Manny. How are you?
What is up, Will? I'm doing good. We got a bit of rain these past 2 days.
Yeah!
How awesome was that?
Some thunder.
Yeah.
It woke me up.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I think it was like 5 in the morning or something. I'm like, what is happening?
Well, yeah, I was at work. I was listening to our podcast.
Nice.
On Spotify, which if you want to listen to, you can check it out on Spotify. And
yeah,
the rain just started pouring. So
dang, very refreshing. We got very little rain. It was mostly thunder and then maybe 2 minutes of rain, which dried up by afternoon, basically.
Followed by wind.
Followed by wind, you said?
Yeah, followed by wind because it got really windy right after.
Okay, we got like a sample then. I think you got more of it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because it was like super windy.
Yeah, and speaking of sampling, we did get another preview / news for Scarlet and Violet. I know we talked about it last time. You asked me if I thought there would be anything more after that initial trailer drop. There's like a 14-minute trailer that came out. And there was something. It was Iono, I think is how you say it. Had a reveal trailer, but it was very light on Pokemon content. We're still waiting for part 2 at the moment. So I was technically right, but I would necessarily say the quality was all there in terms of what people expect from the upcoming games announcement and information.
Yeah, it's almost a month away for the games to come out. I'm excited. The trailer was pretty cool. I thought it was really creative. The way they introduced this character. I love that she has like the anime sharp teeth.
The part I'm mostly bitter about is the fact that it was at 6 a.m. So
okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. You can just wait until the video is uploaded to YouTube.
Sure.
That's usually what I do when I'm not working, because I go in and work like at 5. So by the time it's already 6, I'm there. But this one took a while to upload. On the US YouTube channel.
Right, the Japanese one came out and we're like, where's the English one? It's going to be dubbed, or is it? And then it wasn't. So that was also kind of added frustration, I think.
Yes, but we are getting the reveal as of this recording tomorrow, right? On the 15th?
Huh, I thought it was next week.
Okay, so this is from today. October 14th. So tomorrow, yeah.
Dang, okay.
Where Iono will reveal her Pokemon. Now the clues were that it's sluggish, as in slow. People mistake its eyes for, I think, what was it, bolts? Or something like that. And it stores electricity in its stomach. So could it be a new Pokemon, or do you think it's a Paldean version?
I hope it's a new one. As cool as regional forms are, I would rather just have a new Pokemon.
Yeah, because I think she revealed it's her ace Pokemon, so this will probably be like the last one she uses when...
Right. Yeah, and I wonder how early she is.
Yeah, true.
We've seen a grass-type gym leader as well, but this is the second... Well, we have an ice one, I think, also.
Yes, the ice
one.
But
I guess this was the first one that's like very featured compared to the other ones. So, yeah, we'll see about that. But it looks like there's going to be at least one more trailer, if not more, for this game. Since we have part 2 coming up. And, I mean, yeah, I know I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. But we saw that big 14-minute trailer that seemed like it was going to give us more. And there's some excitement and something to talk about, at least. While this one was more like, oh... It was literally a tease for the next trailer. So it's kind of an announcement of an announcement.
Yeah, I think they shouldn't have announced it, just put it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially this one, it would be more like, oh, it's a mystery. And I think people would be less bitter about it. But I don't know. Some people do like it, which all's fair there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Are you getting the double pack or are you just getting one game?
I never get the double pack, actually. So I'll probably just get Violet.
I got the double pack just for the fact that I want to get all 3 starters. I'm mostly going to be playing Scarlet. Yeah, and I'll use Violet just to like reset so I can have all 3 starters traded to my copy of Scarlet.
Oh.
Because, I mean, unless...
Wait, why don't you just create another profile on your Switch? And
can you trade between profiles?
You don't have to trade, you can just put it in home for free.
Oh, this is true. Will, you're smart. This is true. See, I'm old. I'm old school. Oh. I was going to get my link cable ready. Okay, I got to remember that. But we don't know when home compatibility will be ready, right?
That's true, yeah. I mean, for me, every base playthrough, I just try to enjoy it with the one starter, and then maybe afterwards I'll do it. Like, my third playthrough of Brilliant and Diamond, I have like my Infernape and Empoleon, and Leafeon as my main grass one. But yeah, I mean, if you, I see it, but like, I'd rather just trade with someone else at that point.
Yeah,
instead of buying it myself.
Because then they've also done like that recent where like every time a new game gets updated with home, they give you the starters with their hidden abilities.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't know if I should wait until then to get the other 2.
You can, or you can just trade until they actually do that.
Yeah, because we don't know either if like the starters will be available post game.
Right. Like, was X and Y the last time they just gave you the other starter? Well, I mean, Legends Arceus did give you, I think, one of each as well, but that was mostly because you need to complete the decks, which is pretty friendly, but that game was also really unique since there wasn't another copy of it, or there wasn't like a dual release with it compared to the other ones.
Yeah, and you know what else Legends Arceus did?
What's that?
It didn't lie to you like this episode or this complete series did.
Well,
advertising they were going into the past.
Oh man, this is gonna sound really hypocritical, but I kind of like this one the most so far, so I'm gonna start to defend it a little.
That's good. I was hoping you would like at least the second half.
Yeah, you're definitely right there, at least so far, because today, again, we are jumping into our part 3 of the Arceus Chronicles review, which is now on Netflix, and it's heating up, both literally and figuratively, and as Manny said, it's definitely more and more so as we keep going. Not very related to the past of Sinnoh necessarily, as much as it is to the Diamond and Pearl series of the anime. Which, I want it, but maybe not like this, is where I'm at the moment.
Okay.
So, to actually jump into the plot a bit and see where we are, this part 3 happens shortly after Heatran's second transformation into its molten lava form. Our heroes are watching this unfold at Mount Coronet. They've already engaged with Team Galactic, and it looks like a volcano exploded, basically, because like fire erupts and everything around them just burns. Somehow they're fine, but everything else is just like on fire.
Yeah, and like no really sign of like them feeling like the heat from the explosion either.
Yeah, they're like sweating slightly in some shots, like Piplup maybe, but that's kind of it. And then Heatran tries to maybe use like Lava Plume or something, and the Lake Guardians, Mesprit, Azelf, and Yuxi kind of divert the attack using Psychic. And then they come down and you see their eyes glow. And we get a different perspective of what's going on inside Heatran, revealing that there is the glowing flame plate and the actual Heatran kind of held up by red flesh, I think. It reminds me from a little bit of what I've seen of Attack on Titan.
What do you suppose that was? Because to me, it kind of looked more like, it reminded me of Carnage from Spider-Man, but less oozy.
Symbiote?
Yeah. But yeah, we I guess from here we learn that Heatran isn't really under control here. And that move that you refer to, Lava Plume, is that that's an actual move that's current, or is it just for Gen 4?
I think it was introduced in Gen 4, but I'm not sure if it's still around. But
so yeah, what did you make? What did you make of that? Like, seeing it trapped.
I kind of like it because it does more to make it believable that it's not just like metamorphosizing into a bigger form of itself, and also kind of excuses its actions because it's seemingly not in control. But the way it's just kind of sitting there, it doesn't really seem upset or like it's trying to get out or anything. So I'm a little confused there as to what's going on, especially because the Lake Guardians also, in the subtitles, it says that they all gasp after they do that vision of Heatran's insides. And then look at each other. And I'm like, wouldn't Arceus have told you? Or is this completely new territory for you? Because I felt like if they're chatting with Arceus about the plates and it's sending him out to help out with what's going on, it would give them some context of like, the plate is kind of sentient, or the plate may control a Pokemon to get back to it. But they're also surprised. I'm like, what was the point of you coming out here?
Yeah, if there's one thing we've learned from the first 2 episodes, it's that Arceus isn't helpful at all. But yeah, that would be something that maybe Arceus wasn't aware of itself, which is why the lake spirits were also shocked.
Right. Yeah, right, it could just be a new thing. I guess no one's ever tried this before, at least the way Team Galactic did, which was shooting a cannon of energy at the sky.
And yeah, and I don't think we've ever really seen a Pokemon consume a plate either. So
yeah.
I think it was completely new territory to the Lake Guardians as well.
Right. Yeah, and I wish we had a better explanation still of why it did that, because up until now, it really seemed like Heatran was mostly in control of what was going on, since it was the one that started it by eating the plate.
Yeah, it did seem that way, huh?
Right. So, it's a twist, I think. I'll see where it goes. We're still not at the end of the series, but I think it does help alleviate some of the issues I've had so far. And speaking of people not being aware, or at least Pokemon, we actually then cut to the festival again, surprisingly, and we see Cynthia staring up in the distance, let out a little gasp, and take out the 2 chopsticks from her hair, laying down her hair fully to how people see her usually. And this brings up another question, is wasn't Dawn transmitting something to you?
She was, right?
Yeah, so did she just step away from that to look outside? I'm like, at this point, you should just be heading there if she was transmitting to you like 10 minutes ago information.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really know like how long it was when she transmitted it. Maybe she thought the situation was a little bit under control, and then she saw that explosion and was like, oh, okay, now I need to do something about this.
Yeah, and like maybe because of what we'll see in a few seconds, she was waiting for someone to pick her up.
Yeah, that's right, huh? Yeah,
so
could be.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. And then we cut back to the scene where Brock is with our heroes analyzing the situation, saying that he can only think of one thing, and that's that some power other than Heatran itself is at work here. So it does kind of tie to what you were hinting at last time, where maybe it's the plate. I don't know if that was you or me, but I feel like we discussed at some point that maybe the plate has more involvement than we think. Heatran then lets out a roar, and lightning comes down from the dimensional gate portal, where it was heading towards in the last part of the episode. So then everyone's like, oh shoot, like, what's going on now? And then we get another little field trip to the weird space crystal area where they don't meet Heatran, but instead they get a vision again from the Lake Guardians of what we saw 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's how the kids figure out that something is, or what's wrong with Heatran.
Yeah. Why do you feel like we got shown that separately and not together?
Suspension? Or suspense? Maybe?
Maybe? I felt like they could have just skipped it by having the Guardians look into Heatran and at the same time show our heroes. Because the Lake Guardians aren't even really here for this reveal. They just kind of go into this dimensional space, see it, and then come back out. But like the Lake Guardians aren't even shown in the scene, weirdly enough. So instead, we see them following Heatran still, and Go just comments that in the vision, Heatran looks like it's in a daze. And Don's like, how is it rampaging? Ash does point out the plate, which he calls like a big plank inside. So that's fair. I'll give him that. Like, plates are also very ambiguous in terms of what you can name. And as our heroes are just trying to put some stuff together, Team Galactic actually catches up to the Lake Guardians and tries to attack them from behind with Toxicroak, Skuntank, and Perugly. And we get a super dramatic turn of heads of all our heroes as they hear the attacks being launched.
Was it all four of them, or was it just Ash, Dawn, and Brock?
It was Ash, Dawn, Go, and Brock, yes.
Oh, okay, because when they turned, the Lake Guardians also turned. So I thought that was like a connection between the trainers who had seen each of them separately. But now that you mentioned that Go also turned, I guess it was just everyone kind of heard it.
Yeah, I kind of like your idea better that the Pokemon turn because they sense the humans turning, but it's actually, if you look at the scene closely, the Lake Guardians who turn first. So it's more of the opposite effect. But it doesn't really matter too much because the Lake Guardians just seem to use Psybeam to defend themselves from the attack. And also, when they show the attacks colliding, it's like a very large distance also. So it kind of kills the suspense a bit too there.
Yeah, it was the typical anime showdown.
Right. It's just like meeting in the middle. It's not like they got caught off guard too much, necessarily. And then, of course, our heroes are mad that they tried to attack the Guardians from behind, especially. Ash is like, I want Pokemon to live free! And Heatran just kind of walks by them all in the background.
Yeah, that was so funny. They're all in a heated argument, and Heatran is just minding its own business, like in the background, walking slowly.
Yeah, they're just ignoring it, even though it's like 1,000 degrees right next to them. And then the Galactic Commanders are all just kind of taunting them, basically. Mars explains that the flame plate is what's inside of Heatran. And Brock's like, some say the plates exist in order to increase Heatran's power. I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate to what those do. Mars says this plate wants to return to its home. And back home to the original one, Arceus. Which I think is kind of a cool title for Arceus. And she explains that because of that desire, the dimensional gate will open. And that's what they want. Because they want to reunite with Cyrus. So
and Saturn is his name, right?
Yeah.
He gets mad.
Yeah.
He's like, you and your loud mouth.
Right. He's like, you just told them everything.
Yeah, which I had to rewind like 3 times because I didn't have subtitles. So like when he says loud, he mumbled it. So I was like, what is he saying? But yeah, he got mad.
Yeah. And like, I get it. Like, in lots of other scenes that we have seen Saturn talk with our heroes, he's like, I'm not really going to tell you anything. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to attack. Which I kind of like. But, it's alright. Did you have any particular thoughts about Saturn's attitude there?
It just caught me off guard because I didn't expect him to get, like, a bit disturbed by the fact that their plan was revealed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was pretty much it. But I don't know if we skipped over, but I think in the beginning, there's like a report that says that it's extremely hot because of the explosion, right?
Right. They said that because of the activity at Mount Cornet, there's an increased heat wave or something like that.
Yeah, and I kind of said to myself, it's probably nothing compared to a California heat wave.
Yeah. I'm also kind of surprised we don't see more people involved. And there's just this massive event in the middle of the country, and only Cynthia's gonna do something about it.
What was your reaction to Saturn's comments?
I was kind of expecting him to be a little more snooty, like saying, and telling you about our plan won't change anything because you can't do anything about it. Like some kind of confident comeback instead of being mad at Mars also. Yeah,
definitely got me. Like, made me like, oh, okay. I didn't think he would react this way.
And maybe it's also because, like, they're literally all alone. Like, they have one grunt with them, so they aren't really in control of the situation.
Very true, very true.
That might be why he's a little more ticked off at Mars than he would be otherwise. And Mars responds saying, yeah, they won't know anything. Or maybe Jupiter, I think, actually says that. And that's where we see that they now have to get rid of them, won't we? It's just them again. So I felt like this would have been more impactful of a confrontation if we did have more grunts there, even if they just had a bunch of Golbat, which we've seen in other series before.
In what way do you feel it would have been more impactful? Because there would be an obstacle for the kids?
Yeah, more of an obstacle. Like, you could say they're surrounded, and it would be more believable. But here it's very much like Team Galactic is literally the opposite direction of where Heatran is. Like, Heatran's behind the kids. So it's not like they're literally blocking the path also.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would have expected that might be helpful, but it's alright. I do question where they are, though. Maybe everyone's just like, I'm out of here because because their building exploded. So that's alright. Ashlyn says we gotta save Heatran, and they're like, they're not doing anything, though. They're just still kind of yelling at Team Galactic because Heatran burned up the forest. Go's really mad that all these Pokemon no longer have a home. And Team Galactic just is like, I'm like, what?
So I didn't like his voice actor in this. Like when he screamed.
Mm-hmm. It was very desperate.
Yeah, it just came. I don't know why he reminded me of Barry's voice actor.
Oh.
I think that's why it left like a bit of
I would have preferred Barry's voice actor. Just because it would have been a little more like whiny, and I think that'd be kind of funny that he's like complaining to Team Galactic. But here he sounds like he's in total despair. And then immediately after this, he's like, hey, things are gonna heat up, Grookey. Let me put you in the ball. And he's smiling. And Grookey and Piplup wave to each other before it returns to its ball. And that part was just like, what? Like, that does not track with what you just said in terms of like where you were emotionally.
Do we know if Grookey's fur is made out of leaves? Could they have like maybe dried up?
I don't know enough about Grookey except the fact that it doesn't really do any attacks. Like, they treat it almost like a baby. And I don't know why. I've seen a lot of discussions about this, and it feels like the Pokemon Company is for some reason just trying to treat Grookey as much as a pet as possible compared to the other Pokemon that Go is about to bring out, which are fully evolved and can battle. And he just doesn't want to let Grookey battle for some reason. It's really weird. But here, he brings out Cinderace, which is his starter Pokemon.
Yes, Cinderace. Or as it's known in Japanese, Ace Burn, which I think is a better.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then someone says, let's go. And Mars is like, oh, that's quaint. Which I'm like, okay, I like you, Mars, again.
And he also brings out his Inteleon, right?
Not yet. I think in the second.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Spoilers.
But then the admin are all saying, but we won't let anyone get between us and the new world. So they're very much about securing the pathway forward for Heatran to get to Spear Pillar. And this is again where I'm like, you're literally standing behind that path and not in front of it, so you're not really blocking anyone again. But either way, they just engage in battle, and again, it's their Purugly, Skuntank, and Toxicroak up against Cinderace, Piplup, and Pikachu. And we see a clash between Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, and Shadow Ball. So I do like how these moves look for the most part. And they're countered by Cinderace's Pyro Ball, Pikachu's Thunderbolt, and Piplup's Bubble Beam, I believe.
Oh, always love seeing Shadow Ball. I think that's one of my favorite moves ever since it was introduced. Like I said before, because of the anime, my Umbreon always has to know Shadow Ball. My Tyranitar as well. That's not an anime thing. I just like it having Shadow Ball.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've read somewhere that Shadow Ball is one of the most common moves in the anime because it's probably the one that they can most easily repeat the animation for.
Yes. Yeah, it is because even May's Eevee had a Shadow Ball, so because of that, all my Eevees also must have Shadow Ball.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a cool sequence. I love the way in the game Pyro Ball is animated, so it's always cool to see that it's animated in the same, but it's not like this is done more with more
Wait.
It was more urgent. It was more urgent. Because
Right.
you know how in the game Cinderace is just kicking the pebble.
Yeah,
kind of like showing off its soccer. Yeah, so
he's like dribbling it for a few seconds.
Yeah. So to just see him kick it up and then it already becoming a massive like pyro ball and kicking it, always a cool visual to see.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. But before they can battle anymore, Brock says, "I'll hold them off. You go and help Azov, Uxie, and Mesprit to stop Heatran." And I was like, oh, okay. It surprised me a bit because it was Brock saying, I'm going to battle all three of these people.
Of course. Pewter City Gym Leader, man.
See, yeah, and that's the thing. If we had seen Brock do more of this in past series, it would have caught me off guard less. So I am kind of enjoying the fact that we are seeing it now. It took a long time for them to be like, oh yeah, he is a gym leader. He should be pretty capable.
I always thought he was capable like during the Advanced Battle series.
He was
some Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, the thing is, for lots of it, he often takes a back seat. It'll usually be Ash or Dawn who actually does a lot of the battling.
True.
So
but he did take the reins in the tag battle, which you can check on Spotify.
Yes, in the Heart Home tournament. So that is kind of refreshing to see him do it, as he does a classic one-on-one Toxicroak versus Croagunk. And then Skuntank and Purugly are going for it. And he says, now you're facing me. And which two Pokemon did you think he was going to bring out?
For sure the ones that he brought out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why later in a moment.
Okay. I thought Steelix would be one. And I was like, oh, maybe it'll be Sudowoodo because that's the only one we haven't seen from his journeys in Sinnoh. So I was a bit surprised that we see Blissey.
I kind of figured he would use it because since it was also... He kind of used it in Sinnoh to battle as well, right?
He uses it like 3 times to battle, honestly. For the most part, it's like to lift things that are super heavy.
Well, that's probably why. It probably got stronger as a Blissey.
That's fair,
than it
yeah.
was as a Happiny.
So I was expecting Sudowoodo, but Blissey was a nice surprise because, like you said, we haven't really seen it in battle very much. And I think it was actually my favorite one to see battle.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Steelix starts off with a Stone Edge, and Blissey uses Dazzling Gleam. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Dazzling Gleam is a move in the game that hits multiple enemies on the field if there are 2 or more in a double battle. And it's always just nice to see a fairy type move in action that we haven't seen too much of. Stone Edge knocks Purugly on its back, and then Dazzling Gleam hits it back down. We're just like, oh, that's sick. And then it has Blissey use Mega Punch.
Mega Punch, which visually looked stunning.
Yeah, it like... Usually it's like something that glows white. Yeah. But here it's like it looked like the Dimensional Gate.
Yeah, it looked really cool. But my question is, as someone who grew up with cats, what did this poor Purugly do to deserve all 3 of those attacks?
It did get solo targeted, that is true.
Yeah, it was solo targeted. Like Skuntank and Toxicroak were just free from these attacks.
Blissey comes at Purugly with a vengeance. It literally flies towards it.
It does. Yeah, which was so cool.
Yeah.
And then especially because of the switch up. Like, it jumps up to do its Dazzling Gleam, which also looks visually stunning. And once it hits it, it goes down and it's just launches itself
Yeah.
And the cool like spinning Mega Punch just comes out and it just boom, just attacks that Purugly.
Extremely satisfying to see Blissey just do such a tough thing.
So now that you saw his Blissey in action, do you think he could have handled all three?
Yes, but also I feel like all three of them were a bit nerfed here. Like I don't think they were doing as much as they could be. Like at some point, have them bring out other Pokemon. Like we know Saturn also has a Bronzorb, for example. Like I wish it looked like they were trying harder to make it cooler that Brock was holding them off.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's my main critique of that scene, but it is, of course, still nice to see Brock have some of the spotlight, in battles especially. And then we cut back to our heroes who send out Dracovish and Inteleon from Ash and Go respectively. Cinderace and Inteleon just kind of give each other a little nod, so if you see the series, maybe you know what that means. I have not, so I'm like, oh, okay, they're friends. Piplup is also very smitten, I guess, with Inteleon, and
that's so cool. I love Piplup.
Yeah, it tries to copy it looking cool, and they're like, okay. Ash, meanwhile, is talking to the Lake Guardians, telling them to please use Psychic to help us out. I'm like, oh, okay. What happens is all the water types use their moves together, and the legendary Pokemon then use Psychic to combine them into a big ball of water. What do you think about that tactic?
In the anime, we've seen before when water types use simultaneous water attacks, they merge.
Yeah.
But for some reason, these three didn't merge until the Lake Guardians used Psychic.
Right.
So I was kind of puzzled on that aspect. Because I guess I'm so used to just seeing them just merge together. But it did look cool. It looked, again, I think when it comes to the moves, they knocked it out of the park. And this big, giant, I guess you could call, I'm going to call it a Rasengan, because you can see like the waves moving in motion as well. It was great. And I was curious to see like, okay, is this gonna be effective? Is this gonna give them time? Is this gonna stop Heatran in his tracks? Or what I had thought was, is Heatran just gonna like, for some reason I thought, it's gonna swallow it whole.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess because it's big, so I just figured like, oh, it's in a lava form. I don't think water would do much of damage to lava. So I thought it would either hit and just become steam, or Heatran itself in its lava form was just going to swallow it and carry on.
Yeah, I was pretty much expecting it to be ineffective. Because like I mentioned, I think 1 or 2 episodes ago, when it's transformed, I'm like, oh, it transformed once and then it transformed again. Like, maybe when it was just fire, it would have some effect, but now it seems like unlikely that it would have any, and that's pretty much what happened here. And that's also why I was a little, I guess, questioning of why the legendaries were involved, because it kind of makes them seem ineffective as well here. Because they had to use all of these powers combined, and the legendaries also contributed, but it seems like they could have just not, and it would have had the same effect. It's not like combining them necessarily improved or elevated it. It just kind of looked better, but if you're going to use legendaries, why not just do something that's higher level?
Yeah. So in the games, are the Guardians strong?
They're kind of different. So, what I mean by that is Azelf is all attack and has very low defenses. Mesprit is very balanced. And then Yuxi is very defensive focused. I'm mostly getting the power sense from what we've seen in the anime, which at this point in Sights and Sinnoh we haven't gotten to yet. But they seem to have some level of power that's recognizable. And I thought they were going to do that or something similar, so I was a little... I was dismayed, maybe, I guess, that this is where we ended up using them. But what's even more weird about this whole thing is that after they do this, Heatran just seems to heat up more. And it looks like black lightning starts sparking from the dimensional gate, which Saturn is really happy about. He's like, yes, that means the dimensional gate is opening up. And we cut back to Krogunk and Toxicroak fighting, which is great as always. Though I wish it could be even more impactful. And Skuntank then uses Flamethrower, which is a direct hit on Steelix, super effective, of course. And I'm like, no, poor Steelix. And as Saturn uses Iron Tail with her Purugly, Blissey's about to take a hit when it gets blocked by Garchomp.
The Jet Shark.
Yes, and everyone's like, no, it can't be. And then just kind of walking up behind Brock, we see Cynthia strolling in and standing right next to him, nods, says nothing. And then the Galactic Admin are like, oh no, it's the Sinnoh champion. We have a new problem. And out from behind the mountain pops up Officer Jenny in a helicopter with Cynthia talking into a mic telling her, yep, as we thought, it's Team Galactic. And Jenny's like, copy that, but now they're trapped. And
she leaves.
The Sinnoh police will be here soon.
So they were trapped, and she decides, I don't need to stay around. I'll just leave.
Yeah, right?
And when she said the Sinnoh police will be here, I was like, aren't you a police officer?
Right, like you're still... You're an officer. Why are you leaving? Like, literally, helicopter just turns around and flies off. So, that was my question as well. And that's going to lead me to a prediction we're going to see, I'm going to share at the end. Yeah, I'm like, even though I know what my prediction is going to be with that, I still found it weird that there weren't other police officers, or they just didn't stay to observe. It was like, nope, we have Cynthia. Like, that's all the law enforcement we need.
And she had a microphone.
Yeah.
And so my thinking was she was waiting to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would give the signal and the cops would be there.
Right.
And they would come out and surround them.
Yeah.
No, Jenny clocks out and she just leaves.
Right. And this is also a weird little detail. Why is she using a microphone when Dawn just used her watch to transmit data to her? Supposedly. Because every second that passes, Manny, I swear Dawn was lying, because no one ever mentions that again.
Yeah. Who's to say?
What Cynthia says is, Brock, please take my Garchomp and head over to Ash's group, where he gasps and she says, I'll take care of Team Galactic. The only way to stop Heatran is to make sure that it's nowhere to walk. So, okay, we got a new strat. I'm like, okay, that's good. Garchomp is going to be a big help in that, she adds on. And Brock then looks at his Pokemon saying, Blissey, Krogunk. And they're like, nope, I actually don't want you to come with me. I want you to help Cynthia. What do you think about that decision?
Okay, so it took me on the second watch to notice, because at first I thought both Pokemon were reluctant to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why my eyes told me to focus on Krogunk.
Mm-hmm.
But Krogunk gestures to Blissey like, "Hey, we gotta go." So to me that was telling me that Blissey was reluctant to leave because they wanted to stay in the battle, while Krogunk was like, we're needed somewhere else, and that's why he assured them like, no, I want you both to stay.
So that's interesting that was your interpretation, because for me, Krogunk first turns around halfway to look at Brock, and then as Brock pauses, it turns around and it holds its left arm up. And to me, I thought that was like, hey, Toxicroak, like, you wanna keep fighting? But I can see where your interpretation is that Blissey's more in front, so it might be more like a gesture telling Blissey to come.
Yeah, because in the first watch, I thought Krogunk like made a noise as into like, I don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing it looked like it was looking at Blissey. From the way that I saw it, it looked like Krogunk was looking at Blissey, and when it moved its left arm, it was signaling Blissey like, "Hey, let's go."
Right. Do you have a preference of the interpretation?
I like both because Krogunk is amazing. So if it wants to continue to fight, you do that, Krogunk. If you know that you're needed somewhere else, then that is why Krogunk is wise beyond its years.
See, I never imagined Krogunk ever asking anyone else what they want or think. Like, it might know, but it doesn't want to point it out. So to me, it makes more sense that the Toxicroak motioning is what it's doing here. But there is a nice potential interpretation of character development here, in that the fact that it's asking Blissey. So I kind of like either, but I feel like the notion is that it's just trying to fight Toxicroak.
Yeah, but I feel like that notion as well, because when they go into like the random cosmic area, like Krogunk is alarmed as if he's ready to fight.
Oh, right. With Arceus.
Yeah, so I like your theory better. That it was just like, hey, Toxicroak, let's go. We're not done yet.
Right. And then Brock says, okay, you two stay and help Cynthia, but Steelix come with me and use Dig. So it digs down, and Brock just jumps in the hole after it with Garchomp. And I'm like, why don't you just ride it and go above ground?
Would tunneling be faster? Because were the kids higher or lower on the mountain?
Higher.
Oh. Never mind then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if it were a cave or something, maybe. But this is just like, okay. Maybe you're just trying to get out of the way of the battle. So, I don't know. It just isn't super clear why it does that specifically. But then Cynthia says, Roserade, full blossom, and out comes a beauty. I love how it flips out of its ball, with petals coming out, and then just lands between Blissey and Krogunk. But yeah, I just like seeing it because it is one of Cynthia's Pokemon in the games as well. And so far...
So what's her complete team? Because I haven't caught up with the anime, but I did see one Pokemon.
Sure. So it varies a little bit by game. Usually it's Spiritomb, Milotic, Lucario, Garchomp, Togekiss, Gastrodon, and Roserade. One of those is switched out in Platinum, so Platinum she has Togekiss. Yeah, it's a really cool team.
Milotic, man. I remember the struggle of trying to evolve my Feebas. Sapphire to Milotic.
Oh no, it was definitely... I definitely appreciated being able to do it in ORAS and Gen 4 way easier. than the original ones. And we cut back to Heatran, who is still marching along. And like Guardians again are trying to fly up in front of it. Brock pops up behind them on Steelix now, saying, hey, we gotta do what Cynthia was suggesting, which is basically block its path, making sure that it has nowhere to walk. And this is one of the cooler sequences, I will say, of the episode. They have Garchomp and Steelix use Dig to basically unearth a lot of the area in front of Heatran, which is great, seeing both ground types do this, and that kind of knocks Heatran off its balance a bit. Then it's followed up by Pikachu using Iron Tail, and it's like way too strong because it just splits the ground, basically. And that's followed by, I believe, Cinderace, yes, using Pyro Ball to, again, just smash up the ground even more. So they're basically just trying to terraform this whole area, which is being set up again by Pikachu, Garchomp, and Steelix just grounding up the dirt a bit. Finally, we get Dawn's contribution. Were you expecting this Pokemon to come out for this part?
No, I wish it went back inside its Pokeball.
Why?
I'm not a Mamoswine fan. I don't like that design.
I like Swinub and Mamoswine way more than I like Piloswine.
No. And I guess because like I have Johto preference or Johto bias. So it was perfect that Piloswine. They didn't need to add more.
Piloswine couldn't leave fast enough, okay?
Stop. But I wasn't expecting it to use Ancient Power. I thought she was going to use Blizzard.
Oh. I could see either.
So I forgot that Mamoswine. Well, I didn't know it could use Ancient Power because I don't evolve my Piloswines.
Got it. Well, that's how it evolves, I think, is by learning Ancient Power.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Piloswine, you're not learning Ancient Power.
And then, I mean, Earthquake could have worked well here too, but Ancient Power is a move that it's just had for a while. This was actually one of the more disappointing animations. It has a cooler one in Diamond and Pearl, but again, we're not quite there yet. This all distracts Team Galactic, though, as Cynthia then uses this opportunity to have Roserade use Petal Blizzard and just knocks them back.
Which wasn't a blizzard. It was just little gusts.
Yeah, it basically looked like Magical Leaf.
Because I think so. It's actually been a blizzard in the anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like pink rose petals.
Yeah, we've seen Petal Dance a lot, and I thought that's what it was going to use. But it's fine. It's like, whatever. The animation wasn't very great either way. And then, a pattern of this episode, we see the plan was actually not effective against Heatran, as it just starts getting hotter and more of the earth around our hero starts to blow up before a huge beam of light launches up from Heatran, hitting the dimensional gate and apparently opening it.
Was not expecting that. But before I forget, so the reason that I thought Brock was going to use his Steelix was because in Sun and Moon he returns.
Right. Yep.
So the kids go to Kanto and he returns and he takes off his shirt. Now the reason he does this is the reason why I thought he used Steelix, because in this right when they say what the plan is, he takes his shirt off. And I was like, okay, it's going to happen. Because in Sun and Moon, Brock takes his shirt off to reveal a necklace that has a Mega Stone.
Yep.
And he Mega Evolves his Steelix. So I thought, okay, he's going to Mega Evolve it. This is so cool. I'm going to get to see it again. But no necklace. He just took his shirt off. Very disappointed.
Yeah, same. I did watch that one episode of Sun and Moon, and I brushed over it, but that was also something I expected for a second. I was like, oh, he's doing it. He's doing the thing.
The minute he brought Steelix out in the first battle, I was like, yes, he's gonna Mega. He's gonna Mega soon. I don't know when, but he's gonna do it. Took his shirt, I was like, here it comes, here it comes. No necklace.
Nothing.
So, Legends Arceus Chronicles, you lied to me again.
Right? It's like it's referencing what he did last time to power up, and they don't do it, so I don't know what happened there. But what does happen here is Heatran is now like cooled magma, so it's got a cool blackened red look to it. And the ground starts crumbling around our heroes again. Dawn almost dies. Go and Ash grab her by the hands and pick her up. No big deal. And the dimensional gate again is opening. Saturn's very happy about this. And then it keeps going up the mountain, along with all our heroes riding Steelix, and then all the other Pokemon tagging along. And see, this is why you could do Mamoswine and not Piloswine, because on top of them, of Mamoswine, you see Piplup, Pikachu, and Cinderace riding along. Which it's adorable.
I still prefer Piloswine.
All right, we can't all be right, so I'll I'll forgive that one. And then Brock gives the weirdest analysis I've seen.
Which was?
Basically, Ash and Dawn are saying, yeah, it got bigger, it changed forms. And then he says, Go says, you don't think it could be getting power from that dimensional gate? Brock says, yep, and it's getting bathed in that. Brock says, yes, and due to getting bathed in that power, its body is probably under intense pressure. I think it's talking about the actual body and not the big form body. But then he says, if this continues, there could be an enormous explosion that blows off the top of Mount Coronet. Everyone gasps, and he says, no one, including Heatran, would be left standing after that. And then we get a cut of the molten, dried lava on Heatran pulsating. So, what did you think about that analysis?
That even Heatran wouldn't survive the explosion?
Yeah. Well,
I think it's
just...
I think it's justified because Heatran essentially is consumed by this energy. And I think we can assume that it's draining it, in a sense. But that's all I can think of right now. I don't know. Because I don't know much about Heatran to see.
So, to me, it was weird that he was so like, now the stakes have gone from the dimensional gate opening to Heatran could destroy the mountain and everyone on it.
Yes, like Pompeii.
Right. Yeah. Heatran is now Mount Vesuvius on legs.
What did you think about its... I guess I'm going to call it its magma form.
I like it the most, actually.
Yeah, I think this is my third favorite. When it was walking on its side, it reminded me a bit of Groudon. It's like the head was kind of shaped like a Groudon's head. And the patterns kind of look like the black lines that Groudon has.
Yeah.
But then when they show like the front of its face, it looks so menacing, like if it was going crazy.
Right. It definitely had a lot of expression on it, which is nice too. The other ones have been very vague, I guess. So this leads to all the admin jumping back on the helicopter. Blissey, Roserade, and Croagunk just kind of jumping at them. And then Jupiter's just like, Skuntank, you smoke screen. And then they get pushed away. So that's the most effective they've been this episode. And
not a lot of battling, huh?
There has been a lot of battling?
Not a lot of like battling. Like emphasis on the battling.
Yeah, there was for a second with Blissey. And then it just kind of cut short of that, which is a little disappointing. And we see our heroes all get to Spear Pillar with all these Pokemon around. Honestly, way more Pokemon than I thought we were going to see because it had been so slow the first two parts of this series. And that's where we get another good look of Heatran looking pretty dope, honestly. As it's a fusion of molten dried lava and fire on its back. And again, them saying, oh, it's gonna explode. I'm like, okay. Like, I wish it were a little more grounded, I guess. Because it still feels a little random that they're like, oh yeah, it's going to explode now. And then we see the dimensional gate being breached as Arceus comes out. And it has a really pretty background of lights just kind of flowing out from around it. What did you think about this Arceus entrance?
Took Arceus a while to get here.
Yeah, true. And like I don't know why it's coming out now.
It had to take Heatran to go to its third form for the portal to open, for Heatran to be close to the portal, for Arceus to decide, okay, now I'm stepping in.
Right.
Because the whole point, which was explained to us, was that the Heat Plate wanted to go back to the original one.
Right, the Flame Plate.
So, yes. So, I feel like it would have been easier if Arceus had just ended Heatran's misery the minute it went to its first form and collected back its plate. But I don't know if, like, the plates are, like, connected to it, like, in a mental, like, bond where it can sense when the plates want to come back.
I feel like it could have just summoned the plate out of Heatran and just dissolve the form, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm also not sure why it didn't do that earlier.
There probably wouldn't be 4 episodes.
Yeah. And
yeah,
the Galactic Admin, along with the pilot and the helicopter, are all just kind of in awe of Arceus. Because again, they were only looking to open the gate to presumably get Cyrus out of there. So they look completely surprised that Arceus is even here. Which to me was also kind of odd. I feel like you should be going for Arceus. Like if you want something that's very hard to get, maybe if you can get God, it'll help you. And Arceus then lets out its signature move, Judgment, which honestly looks a lot like Draco Meteor. And as judgment rains down upon the earth, God is here to judge this series. It's now our turn to judge the series, but before that, let's jump into some predictions. So, again, you've seen all of these parts, Manny. My prediction that I want to share with you, as Jenny mentions the Sinnoh Police, is that we're going to get the character Looker coming back for a minute or two.
Character Looker. Okay, and why is this a prediction of yours?
Because Jenny says the Sinnoh Police will be here soon and flies away, so it feels like it's part of maybe the secret Sinnoh Police, which is what Looker's a part of, if I'm remembering the name correctly. He makes sense. He's kind of the glue of the last 2 seasons of Diamond and Pearl, or at least Galactic Battles. So I wouldn't surprise me to see him now that they've name dropped that, and also that he's kind of involved with the whole Team Galactic plot in Platinum as well. And that's kind of my only prediction, actually. I still don't really know how they're going to get the Flame Plate out of Heatran unless Arceus does something. And if it does, I'm going to be kind of annoyed that Arceus didn't do it sooner.
Okay, so a question to you because I always present you with questions.
Yes.
Do you think they will explain how Team Galactic got their hands on the flame plate?
No. No.
Okay. Because my second question was going to be, do you think they would suffer from those consequences? But since you said no,
yeah.
Do you think Cynthia is gonna save the day, or do you think everyone together?
I feel like it's everyone together because we see all their Pokemon out already, and Cynthia's kind of done her part fighting Team Galactic with Roserade. So I kind of hope the spotlight goes back to them because, again, Arceus seems to be communicating with the kids using the Lake Guardians. So it would be odd if they're not the ones that have the final impact on this.
Okay, that ends my question portion.
Awesome. So, again, let's go into our judgment, aka our review, and score. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I will give it... let's go with a 7.
Okay.
There were parts of it, again, that kind of didn't make sense, like the Heatran walking in the background while everybody else is battling.
Yeah.
The lack of battling, because we only get like one attack, and then they kind of stop for some reason.
Right.
And because Brock didn't use his Mega Evolution. But, I mean, the story is pretty much the same. Heatran is just walking.
Right.
It's hard for the kids to try and stop it. And every time they've landed like an attack, it changes its form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been feeling a bit repetitive. But the third form, like I said again, was probably my favorite form of the fire, the lava, and the magma. And that's all I can pretty much say. I did enjoy it because watching it as a whole, like all 4 together, by this point, I had stopped writing notes just because I was so into what I was watching. So, yeah, this episode 3 will be a 7 for me.
Nice. I do agree. I think this part had me the most engaged. I could focus a lot more on the action and just enjoy the story as the plot progressed. I will say it is a kind of weird approach to getting characters in the right place and the right time. But at least there isn't too much of that here. It's really just Cynthia that needs to get transported to the action. And, I mean, Brock's moment is great. Like, he's been underserved for a long time. So seeing this as he's using 3 of his Pokemon at once for probably one of the first and only times we'll see him do it is awesome. Because he's a character that I think is being really great at supporting, but we never really see his gym leader side as much. I do wish, like you said, we got to see his Mega Evolution, but at least we got to see Blissey, which is one of the staples of the Diamond and Pearl series, as a Happiny. So with that, I will also give it a 7.
7 and 7.
Yeah, double 7. So we're more in agreement on this one.
Huh. What will the 4th episode bring? I wonder.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, if you want to hear those answers, tune in next time as we cover the finale of the Arceus Chronicles, a Pokemon special on Netflix. And you can hear again my thoughts and Manny's on it to see what we think about this whole series, maybe go more in depth about why we think it turned out the way it did compared to the Legends Arceus game that it, at the very beginning at least, we thought was going to tie more into. So stick around for all of that. And as always, as Manny's mentioned, you can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Check us out there. And if you have any thoughts, we'd love to hear them in the comments as well. So go ahead and drop by there or let us know on Twitter as well to see what you think about this.
Before we go, trainers for Sword and Shield, starting October 16th through the 29th, if you go to GameStop, they will be handing out codes for Genesect and Volcanion.
Yes.
In the US and in Canada. If you're a listener from Australia and New Zealand, it'll be in JB Hi-Fi. Once again, from October 16th through the 29th, codes for Volcanion and Genesect will be given out. And from October 30th to November 12th in the US, if you go to Target, they will be giving out a code for Marshadow. Canada is still GameStop, and Australia and New Zealand is still JB Hi-Fi. So make sure you do not miss out on those codes.
Yes. The ones for Shiny Eternatus went fast. At least for me.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed. I went to my GameStop, and because they have new employees, I only got one code. Usually they give me two.
Oh.
So I had to go a second time to wait for somebody else to work there to get another code.
I didn't even get one. I had to win one in a giveaway, fortunately. So I'm definitely going to plan to grab mine before it's too late. But it's not too late for you, dear listener, to hit subscribe and keep track of any other news that we have coming up on this channel. Again, less and less each time, Manny. I think I'm going to be able to say hello from Hisui in an appropriate fashion. So for now, we'll see you in Sinnoh.
Bye.